Bonjour everyone, I am Anne-Lise Cailliez and welcome to Parlez-Vous CEO, where we ditch the corporate talk and get real about entrepreneurship. Each week, I chat with founders and CEOs who build businesses their way, through the failures, pivots, and breakthroughs. And they bring the fire. Plus, I'll drop some golden nuggets of wisdom from my own entrepreneurial journey. This is your space to grow, learn, and evolve with a true growth mindset. Remember, success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Now let's kick things off and get this party started. Hello, bonjour, hello, and welcome to another episode of Parlez-Vous CEO and our special real estate series. My name is Anne-Lise and I am your host. For those who are just joining the podcast, we're Brandora and we specialize in helping real estate companies scale their revenue. If you want to learn how to take your business to the next level, you want to make sure to stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop the word growth in the DMs. So we have a very exciting guest today. I'm with Debbie Degrote. Am I saying that right?
You are, absolutely.
And I'm super excited about this chat with Debbie. Debbie has been in real estate since she was 18 and closing deals since she was in high school, basically, and consistently closing 12 to 15 units per month on average. And after 2 decades, she decided to go in the coaching business and started a coaching business with her family. Debbie, in your own words, would you please share a little bit of your story with our audience?
Sure. Yeah, I think my intention was to be an attorney. And my parents, who did not have much money, I thought there was money for college. And then I discovered in my senior year, there was not. And my Sunday school teacher at church was a real estate broker. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, why don't you sell real estate, get your license, work in my company, sell for 1 year, get money for college, then be part-time real estate and go to college and fund your way. And I thought, wow, that sounds like a good idea, because I also knew he was very rich and very successful. And I went to work there while I was still in my second half of my senior year. Mm-hmm. And I did. I actually sold a couple of houses before high school graduation.
That's crazy.
And I just loved it. And I guess maybe sadly, college completely went out of my mind. Mm-hmm. Because I loved real estate so much, and I never became the attorney.
I mean, based on what I've seen on your career, I think that was a great move. Very successful. 18 and you were already closing so many deals. So I want to know more about that, because you were 18, right? You're basically a baby and you're closing your first properties. Do you remember the story of your first client?
Oh, sure. Oh, yes. The first one, I was so excited, found the great couple, found them an awesome house. And the very next day after the offer was accepted, they backed out because the wife had told the husband, I didn't tell you yet, but I am pregnant. And he got very scared and backed out. I remember I was crying and my father took me to Taco Bell and said, you better get tough and stop it and go get another deal. And then I remember my first listed their home, and they did not speak English, and their daughter, they were a Mexican family, and she was my translator, and she was 9 years old. Mm-hmm. And they were a very sweet couple, and I worked very hard, but I probably did a lot of dumb things, but we got them moved. So you always remember, the early deals for sure.
Mm-hmm, of course. And so you are 18, you're just starting, you're learning the business. And the $1 million question is, how did you get clients and how did you even get your first listing?
Well, my broker, he was kind of tough. Real estate agents are independent contractors, so there's no schedule. And I remember I came to work at the first day at 11:30 in the afternoon, and he grabbed hold of me and said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm coming to work. He said, it's lunchtime. He said, if you're going to work here, you'll be here at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you will dress like you are 30. and you will do something different with your hair. You will get your father to co-sign on a used car that makes you look successful, and you will do everything I tell you to do every day, or I will fire you. And I think that real estate agents sometimes don't succeed because they're lacking the structure or someone to hold them accountable. In the coaching business, we all know that. I, at 18, did not think I had an option where a grown-up might have said, oh, I don't have to do that. So I just did what he said. And there was no money to buy leads. He did not give me referrals. I just basically outbound prospecting 5 to 8 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. Open house every weekend during the week, knocking on doors, making calls, expired listing, literally every type of prospecting that worked. I was scheduled into my day, and I followed my routine every day.
And so you were 18, first job, and prospecting, even for older adults, is hard and can be intimidating. Did you feel that because you were young, you were maybe more fearless, or how were you feeling? How were you doing all these calls without thinking, and how did you put yourself into action mode?
I was very driven to be successful. But no, I was not fearless. I really, we teach our coaching clients that it's normal to be afraid and uncomfortable when prospecting. Eventually your brain gets used to it, right? And then it's not as fun as vacation, but it becomes normal. And personality styles have a little something to do with it. On the DISC assessment, which we use in our coaching, I'm a high D, so high driver. And then next is influencer. So that DI personality, they're stronger in terms of being a little bit more okay with confrontation or strangers. Still not easy, because I remember the first time my broker said, you have to make phone calls. I found the most private corner in the office, and I was so quiet. And then I remember when he first sent me to door knock, and I sat in the car and I cried for an hour, but he made me go back.
Yeah.
But then if people will just work to get past the fear, just stay with the routine. And that is really the key we teach in the coaching. You can't say, once in a while I'll make calls and you will ever get used to it. But if it's every morning at 9 o'clock, then every day at 12 I knock on doors, then every day at 2 I see a for sale by owner, then your brain goes, this won't kill us, this is okay.
Yeah.
And I'm making lots of money, right?
Right. You have
but no,
to do the rest.
it wasn't easy. Did it get easy? Yeah, it got easy, because then I got so used to it and always successful at it, but then it got boring. And that's what happens with many great salespeople. A few years in, they're like, this is boring. And I remember my broker said, you have to master repetitious boredom and find the excitement in the things you can do and accomplish outside of work. And he said something to me once. He said, do you think that actors don't get bored? How many takes do they have to do? And I remember he said, and now it's been many years more, Mick Jagger, how many times do you think he sings the same song?
Yeah.
But he's in a private jet, right? So I think that's where agents, they're either terrified or then they get bored.
Interesting. And do you have the feeling that you get bored when you start getting good at it?
Yes.
So a way to know if you're good at it is if you're very chill and bored.
Yeah. So
then you've reached that level.
Yeah, new ways to challenge yourself, right? Maybe that's, okay, can I increase my conversion ratio? Can I have less conversations to get the listing I need?
Right.
And then again, just finding more exciting hobby or activity or ways to challenge your mind when that becomes very routine. Because think about it, if a doctor does like 3 brain surgeries a day, the brains look the same. It's going to get boring until there's a disaster. So yeah, I think we just have to accept that's business.
Interesting. I mean, I would imagine that in residential, also, like, the smaller the deal, like the deal gets bigger and maybe the pressure gets bigger too. So that can be, the thing that keeps the fire alive.
Absolutely. And that's where we often coach people to move into commercial, or more likely to move into a luxury market, increase their price range. We coach some of the biggest luxury agents in the country. Some of them are on TV, and they have a whole different set of challenges because they're dealing with very sophisticated, difficult transactions. I mean, sometimes they're easy. It's all cash, boom, close in a few days. Business managers, lots of egos and personalities. And then you have a small deal fallout. It's not so painful. You have a $30 million deal fallout. It's very painful. One of our clients, I just was on with her a minute ago, Jennifer Leahy. She's in Greenwich, Connecticut with Compass. And last year, I helped her negotiate the sale of an $87 million island.
Wow.
Very difficult. Very difficult. So was she bored? No. Was she having fun? No. Yeah.
The price of stimulation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. Working on island. That's amazing. And so you were in the real estate space as an agent for 20 years, and now you're in coaching. How is it different to prospect for sellers and buyers versus now the work that you're doing now and finding clients now?
Well, and when I first took the job running and building a coaching company, it was coaching for real estate was a little bit new to the space.
Okay.
And also agents at that time were not investing big dollars in things like Zillow, right? So they had more money to invest in coaching. And that model was people cold calling a real estate agent list and sales people on the floor selling them into coaching. A little bit like Boiler Room, right? And when I left and 13 years ago launched my own company, I already knew that model was very much changing. You can't get to them as easily on the phone. They're investing their money in many things. There's lots of coaching competition. If they don't know who you are, how likely are they going to be, to have the conversation? And also, my focus and dedication was not to coach for the masses, but to really cater to the seasoned veteran. I call them the complicated. 90% of who we coach are teams, mega teams, and brokerages and top luxury agents. So I knew I had to be the one to sell them into coaching. So
Right.
I
You're
have
talking to the top 5% of.
exactly. So I have 2 guys, Gary and Ron. They've been with me for years, and we do a lot of webinars, less in-person events because I don't choose to travel a lot unless it's a big enough group or a special group, because you could be exhausted, just, go everywhere all the time. And I did that for a while, for the first, 5-7 years of building the company. But we have a good sales funnel. So when someone attends our webinar, for example, I don't hard sell coaching. We invite them to register just like you did for a strategy call if they have an interest. And then my 2 gentlemen call those who attended. Ask, are you at a point in your career where you would like to speak to Debbie about coaching? So when I get on the phone with them, they often say, oh my gosh, I've been following you for years.
They already know you.
I love your webinar. So they usually, it's a little bit warmer, right? A little bit more trust. And
I see.
I prefer that way. And in fact, I have such amazing coaches. I think we do a really 5-star job. So I don't even ask our clients to sign a contract because I saw some very bad things with that at that previous company where somebody is ill or disaster in their family and they need to take a break. And that company was like, no, you will pay your contract. And I'm like, I don't want that kind of business.
Yeah, that puts a lot of pressure. Yeah.
It's very negative. And many of our clients have been with us for 13 years.
Wow.
So it's not needed if the results are achieved.
And do you mostly coach one-on-one, or is it usually in a group setting?
We do all of it. However, the heart of what we do the best is the one-on-one. Group is often a good way to meet people, and some of the teams will ask us to coach their team agents in a group or special events. But really, the one-on-one, when it's their personal strategy, that is what we're known for. That is really, I won't say it's our favorite thing. We like it all, but that is what is most requested.
So very personalized strategy. And so I'm curious, when real estate agents come to you, what is their main pain point? What is they want coaching? What are they looking for exactly?
Well, when they come to us, one of my 2 gentlemen, they will ask a lot of questions, and then I have that information. Then they will fill out a coaching needs analysis where they'll tell me a little bit about their struggles. Then they take the DISC assessment so I can understand their personality. And then I ask about, their 3 to 5 year vision. Because I've done over 100,000 coaching sessions, it doesn't take me very long with all of that to figure out where the pain is. Most common is they're working too hard for not enough of what they feel is enough money for them. And some of our clients make $5 million a year. So it's all relative, right? But are they making enough? Are they building a business that's predictable instead of very up and down? Which is often a problem in this business. Sometimes the pain is finding the right team members and the structure of their team and building that team, but remaining profitable. Because sometimes it can look very good that it's a big team, lots of units, but there is no profit. So everyone has different things, which is, I think of it like a puzzle, and you dump it out and you put all the pieces together, and then you figure out the situation. And then we like to think, if this is where they want to be in 5 years, what's the custom blueprint to get there?
I love that, because I love your positioning. No one agent is the same as the other. So it has to be very personalized depending on their goals, their main pain points, also their personality, and also the season of their life. Can they work 70 hours a week, or do they want to work 10 hours a week, and helping them build system? Do you often feel that sometimes there is mindset issue with some of your clients?
Every other day, probably. It's just very challenging to be an entrepreneur, as you know, and wake up without a paycheck and be around, friends and family that have their normal job. And then there's the market ups and downs and the fear of things that are happening. I would say for any entrepreneur, not just real estate, it's very important to always keep working on that mindset.
And do you serve as well as an accountability partner?
Yes, I think of it as very high level accountability strategy, because a lot of the coaching companies that are out there for real estate, it's really basic. And the coaches maybe have never even sold real estate, and they just have a template. Did you make how many calls? And
I
it's,
see.
did you do, did you do, did you do, did you do? Okay, now go read this book. What we do is when we decide on that blueprint, then we know what has to happen in the first 90 days, the second 90 days. So the accountability is around that agreed upon strategy. And it's not just did you do, it's I see this is not completed. Where did you get stuck? Is this still the right path and plan? Who do we need to get to help you with this? You know, so it's much deeper than that. And I would say we don't focus on quote motivation, because motivation is like smoke, you know, it's very
Not
fleeting.
reliable. Yeah.
So we really focus on understanding their purpose. So everyone is driven by a different purpose. My parents did not have any money, and so I was driven by the purpose of security and making sure that my children could go to college. And, you know, but then as you go through life, your purpose can change in different directions. But if we know their purpose, then we can remind them of, take them back to that purpose. And then here's our plan to get there.
I love that. I love your strategy and how you're structuring your service with putting together a plan, a strategy with your clients, and then helping them implementing and reevaluating with them. And also making sure the plan works with their personality. That I think is really powerful. I'm not surprised you're keeping clients forever. You know, once you find a partner like that, I mean, you want to keep them forever. Like, I love coaching. I love coaches. I think they're very important. It's one of the mistakes that I've made when I started my own business 10 years ago. So I've been in the real estate space for 20 years as a marketer, 10 years in residential and commercial. And then I opened my own shop. And yeah, I was prepared. It would be hard, you know, entrepreneurs. And I was getting ready for it. But I didn't realize that I could make it easier for me if I had the right ally. And if it's not a co-founder, then a coach. So I only started working with coaches like 3-4 years ago. But that's something I tell new people who really want to boost their career and also have a support system, because friends, family, sometimes people don't have mentors. So having someone in your corner that you trust and also keeping you accountable, also very important, because as you're saying, moods, you know, especially when it's such a 27 type of industry, real estate. So it can wears you off, it can wear you off. So so important to have, you know, someone on your side. So I love what you're doing. And I'd love to hear some of the stories you've had on the marketing worst and best you've done as an agent.
Well, as an agent, one time I decided it would be a good idea to have a big flatbed truck at Christmas and dress my father-in-law up like Santa, and drive around the neighborhoods I worked, and he could throw candy and play music. And it was great until the very end when he fell off the truck and we had to take Santa to the hospital.
Oh my God.
But he was okay. Yeah, he was fine. But I mean, I think recently my business partner and I, we do events at times. We're not doing one this year, but we will next year. But we were doing a couple of a year called Built How, basically how entrepreneurs have succeeded and built their business. And we had Sarah Blakely, who is the creator of Spanx, as one of our guests. And I was able to spend some time with her in the back. And it was funny, right before she went on stage, her button flew off of her blouse. And
the horror.
Very large breasts, and they were hanging out. And she's like, oh my gosh, I need a safety pin. And she's getting the safety pin, and her husband, he is like videotaping this and posting it, taping it live, I should say, and posting it. And she said to me, she goes, you know, my thing for myself is I want to do something every day where I get embarrassed.
Wow.
He said, because if I get embarrassed, it keeps me on that edge of being okay with being uncomfortable and not being afraid to make a
Wow.
mistake.
I
And
love that.
also keeps me humble and accessible to my fans. And I thought, wow, what a great thought.
Yeah, it is. I mean, definitely like open to growth, I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Um, and so as a coach, I mean, I love asking these questions. That's
Yes.
because usually people have crazy stories like that, like a sender that falls off the truck. How about with coaching? Any fun stories with marketing?
Gosh, I feel like I'm thinking about all of my clients. It seems like a lot of the really crazy stories are in the luxury space, right? Of, crazy things that happen, like, some big a mansion listed and the owner comes home and real estate agents had not their own agent, but have broken in and had these parties. And so, yeah, I guess I would say that my people that we work with, they're very serious. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear too many crazy marketing stories,
Mm-hmm.
except I think of Ernie Carswell, our client in Beverly Hills. He's very well dressed and very polished, and his clients, he can't talk about all of them, but if they've been on TMZ and everyone knows, like Katy Perry and Fergie
Mm-hmm.
are his clients. And he was showing a beautiful mansion to a very wealthy person, and he walked backwards and stepped and fell into the pool.
Oh my God.
And interestingly enough, that did not make that client very happy, which you would think they might laugh and whatever.
Yeah.
But client was not happy, walked away, lost the
Oh
deal.
my
So
God. Oh my
but
God.
stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, that's too bad. And so I know you're working with your family in your coaching business. I'd love to know more about that. How is it to work with your family? I've always had this fantasy of one day I would open a shop with my husband and I would give the shop to my children. But in reality, is it as fun? Would you recommend it? What are
Uh,
your thoughts on this?
I mean, it depends on your relationship to begin with. I think we're a very close family. My husband has always worked in the coaching business in the back end, more with
Mm-hmm.
the financial planner, the bookkeeper, the
Mm-hmm.
CPA,
Mm-hmm.
leasing the office space, the copier. Like
Mm-hmm.
all the back end while he sells real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to bother with any of that.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter Taylor, when she was in college at USD, she was a business major and always knew she wanted to build a business.
Mm-hmm.
So she was working for me part time when I launched the company.
Mm-hmm.
Then she left, graduated, sold real estate for 2+ years because she wanted to really understand the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's been the president of Forward Coaching for the last 10 years.
Mm.
Is brilliant, scary smart, much smarter than I am. And 5 years ago, we took on a business partner, Ben Kinney, who is very famous in the real estate space. And if
Mm-hmm.
people want to Google him, they'll see lots of things on YouTube. He's kind of the Steve Jobs of real estate. He's
Mm-hmm.
like 44 years old and very brilliant. And he had so much influence and so many people and teams in his world. He said, I really need a coaching company. I don't want to build it, but I think we would be good partners. And
Mm-hmm.
then since then, um, Ben launched something called Place Inc.,
Mm-hmm.
which is an all in one real estate service and technology platform for teams. Doesn't matter what brokerage they are at, but I think of it like a mothership that lands on them and sucks them in
Mm-hmm.
and helps them with staff and profit and recruiting and training their agents and becoming strong business people.
Mm-hmm.
And in place only works with the top 10%
Mm-hmm.
of teams in the country. They have to be earning a $500,000 a year to get in the door, but really 1 million plus
Mm-hmm.
true operator. And then we help them grow and scale for exchange of a percentage of their profit.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a pre-IPO.
Mm-hmm.
Goldman Sachs gave it a valuation of 1 billion and gave
Mm-hmm.
100 million to develop. And now it's going to Series B funding
Mm-hmm.
and go to IPO in 2027. So that's my business
Wow.
partner I get to hang out with.
That's amazing. That sounds like such a great alliance and a fun project to work on.
Yeah, we get along well. And when I get on with Ben, he usually says, "Where's Taylor?" Because those two get along just like great.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's amazing. And so I heard you talking about technology. So how do you feel about AI in the line of business? Are you using AI for your own business? Do you
Mhm.
coach people on AI? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, in fact, Ben also developed and built a CRM called Brivity, and that's a big portion of this tech platform. And right now, the next round of funding will really go into adding more technology, including additional AI
Mm-hmm.
addition, because he really believes that's going to need to be a very, very strong piece of these teams and real estate in the
Mm-hmm.
future. So, yes, we are using it. We're using it more and more every day. In the coaching space, most of our clients can go, they need more and different than teach me AI. Like they can go to class or they can do something, or they're part of place
Mm-hmm.
and they're already supplied with that AI technology. So my coaches don't at this moment so much coach on
Mm-hmm.
AI use, but I'm sure we will. Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that will be a future
Mm-hmm.
thing before very long at all.
And if you had a magic wand to
Mhm.
solve one of your biggest pain point with your current business, what would it be?
Um, Probably finding the higher caliber of person that I'm willing to hire to be a coach for me.
So hiring.
I am very selective because Ben and I have a very good reputation and I have a real respect for the industry. So I won't hire coaches that are not 20 to 40 years
Mm-hmm.
in, not just in real estate business. Like in my career, yes, I sold a lot of houses, but I also managed. I launched offices in market locations.
Mm-hmm.
I did many things. So I look for coaches that have that big background
Mm-hmm.
and are able to communicate and be very articulate,
Mm-hmm.
but also to have a passion for it. Because if
Mm-hmm.
they just are looking for a job, I don't want those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really hard to find that rare and kind of sexy combination. Probably every week, at least five come and apply to me, and I say no.
Mm.
I maybe hire one or two a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is why we're, as I said, we have a lot of clients. It's a great company, but I'm not about how many more can I get? Can I get 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 clients? Because the reality is then the coaching will not be very good.
Mm.
You cannot find that many
Right.
outstanding coaches in the space
Mm-hmm.
because those outstanding people are there, but they're still selling real estate. They're too busy running
Mm.
their team,
Right. Mm-hmm.
right? So I have to find those that have gone to the CEO level where they have someone else running their team,
Mm-hmm.
or they sold their team or business at an amazing profit,
Mm-hmm.
but now they choose to work with a small group to coach
Mm.
them, to do the
Yeah.
same.
It's a very specific profile. Don't wonder why you can find 1 to 2% a year
Right.
because you want really quality people. Mm-hmm. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And what's your favorite thing about real estate?
Just the opportunity. And I know that prices are higher now, and I know that the business is competitive, but every day you see these incredible success stories, rags to riches stories, and you think, where else can someone like this kid from a poor family with no education, get into a business and, was making many years ago at 25 years old, 750,000 a year. Like, where does that happen? Right. And so it is still just, it's hard. It's way tougher than I think those who are not in the business think that it is. So sometimes it's a little shock for them. They think I'm going to dress up fancy, go look at beautiful houses and have lunch. But if someone who's really willing to do the work and continue to learn, grow, and master the skill, there's just so much opportunity, and it will be different opportunity, and the landscape will look different in the future, but still plenty of space for great entrepreneurs.
I love that. Yeah, I love real estate as well. And so we both know it's an industry that's 24/7.
Yes.
So I don't like calling it work-life balance because I'm not sure it's a balance. I call it more harmony.
Yes.
And what's your routine like? Because I'm sure your clients are 24/7. So you as a coach, how do you manage to, find that harmony between work and life?
We have really great clients who are very busy people, and they have my cell phone. Every client we have has my cell phone. And I tell them, you have an urgent issue, negotiating a big deal, your staff walked out, and they know I will always get back to them. But it really, we have clients that are East Coast, so often my days I'm up at 4:15, and I may be on the phone with them at 6 a.m. Pacific time, my time. But then usually by, 6 p.m. in the evening, they're busy, done, or in bed, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's when I spend time with my business partner, but I'm persuading him more to my schedule, early morning, because he used to be like late night. And I'm like, no, I get up at 4:15. You don't. I don't want to talk to you at 10 o'clock at night. So I think, it doesn't have to be 24/7. You just have to accept I'm going to lose a couple of deals, maybe. If it's not, I'm going to need to educate my clients. I'm going to need to have some staff and leverage as I grow my business. Because if you don't have some life, then you'll just hate it. And you'll end up quitting, or you'll lose more deals because you're burnt out than the one or two deals because you took a vacation.
Right. And it's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Absolutely. And if you had to give yourself, your 20-year-old self, a piece of advice, if you were meeting her now, if you were meeting mini Debbie, what would you tell her?
The main thing would just be I worked way too many hours for way too many years. And I was young, so maybe I would have been out partying instead, right? But I mean, there were definitely days where I worked 16 hours. And what I did not know, there was just no coaching, advice, or model of, you should have a buyer agent showing your buyers houses. You should. I had my full-time assistant, but I was one of the first in the real estate community, to have a full-time assistant. I was one of the first to have a car phone. And so I did things that I was trying, to fix that problem. And that's why I couldn't really go past that ceiling of number of units, because I just didn't have any
systems
bandwidth
support.
So probably should have tried harder to get some coaching, to seek it out. I'm sure it might have been there. It just wasn't there the way it is now. But if I had sought that out, maybe even having to look at other industries, I just didn't think about that. And that probably was the big mistake, because maybe I, like many of our coaching clients, they do 300, 400, 500 units a year. But I didn't know how to do that.
Right. I mean, you didn't know what you didn't know, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so what's coming up next for you?
IPO.
Wow, that's a big one.
Because Forward does,
2027, huh?
yeah, 2027. So Forward does work very separately with all brands, brokerages, real estate industry, and then we have a division that is very specific to serve that world of place. And their partners and operators. So I have coaches from inside of that world that we have groomed so they can help those people specific to their models and systems. And then I have my great coaches over here that kind of like our split screen here that help all of the others that come to us. And so when place goes to IPO, this will still continue to operate, but then there will be more new exciting things and technology and adventures on that side.
Yeah, that's exciting. And would you have a golden nugget of wisdom to share with our audience?
Oh boy, I would say what I notice the most is there's a lack of commitment in this industry to being very focused and diligent with the habits and the systems and the processes that it really takes to run any good business. Because a lot of the salespeople fly by the seat of their pants because they're very talented, but it's almost like every day starting over, right? And so if we could take some lessons from really good businesses that run like a well-oiled machine and bring that to your real estate business, that's probably the big gap. And I love the book. It's a very old book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It's about the entrepreneurial myth. That's just because someone is an amazing entrepreneur does not ensure they will build a great business. Because that's this side. The business is more the technical, the machine of it. And that's where sometimes great people fail.
Interesting. The
They
E-Myth.
build that side of the business. And that's why Place was born, actually.
Yeah, I love that. I love hearing that. And so, Debbie, where can people find you?
Well, they can go to forwardcoaching.com. My direct email is easy, Debbie, Debbie, at forwardcoaching.com. And we have an amazing team. And everyone, when you reach out once to us, they will all know your name. And if if they have an interest in coaching, they always will talk to me.
All right. Thank you so much, Debbie, for being our guest today on Parlez-Vous CEO. It was a pleasure talking to you. I love what you're doing. I love the type of business you're building. I'm excited for you for your IPO in 2027. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Will be fun. Yeah. And, you're very great at what you do, very professional. And I envy the accent.
Thank you.
Oh, your words sound so much better than mine.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And that wraps up today's episode. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez. I am your host, and I can't wait to join you again next week. Thanks for listening to Parlez-Vous CEO today. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. It helps us keep going. And connect with us on Instagram at Parlez-Vous CEO. I am Anne-Lise Cailliez, and I know some days are harder than others. On those tough days, think back to why you started. What you're doing today matters, even when you can't see the results yet. Ideas are great, but it's what you do with them that counts. Find everything we talked about today at parlezvousceo.com. See you next week, and you've got this.